Ladies and gentlemen, the most draconian lockdown we have seen yet. From NBC New York, NYC expands vaccine mandate to whole private sector, ups dose proof to 2, and adds kids 5 to 11. Mayor Bill de Blasio announced the expansion Monday amid yet another COVID surge, driving case rates up across the 5 boroughs. All private sector workers in New York will be subject to the mayor's vaccine mandate starting December 27th, affecting 184,000 businesses. Well, vaccine proof for indoor dining, fitness, and entertainment will be required for children ages 5 to 11, according to a toughened vaccine mandate announced by Bill de Blasio on Monday. The current rule will also expand the required to 2 doses instead of proof of only 1. As for people aged 12 and older as they are concerned, the mayor said, that excludes people who are vaccinated with Johnson & Johnson's single-dose shot, which is interesting. Kids aged 5 to 11 only need to show proof of 1 dose when the requirement for them kicks in on December 14th, considering they only first became eligible for the initial dose early in November and must wait at least 21 days. De Blasio hinted late last week the changes to these policies, blah, blah, blah. And I wonder if they're going to make the kids present their identification. Now, what this mandate means is that I believe the number is 30.9% of New York State residents will not be able to use these public accommodations in New York City. I don't know what the full vax rate is for the city, but that's the state. And nationwide, this means 40.1% of American citizens will not be able to go to New York City as tourists and use any of these public accommodations. So this is outright setting up restrictions, controls, may as well put up borders and checkpoints around the city, because they're basically saying a certain segment of the country will not be welcome in this place. And you know what? The people who are not vaccinated, most likely, we know this, actually, most of them are from the black community. And then I would imagine many of the others are more likely to be moderate or conservative. Those people will likely leave, and New York City will just become a ridiculous mess of deep blue, progressive, leftist, whatever.
Yeah,
I think this time it's going to work, though.
Yeah,
I think this measure will bring down the cases in the city, and so you know what? Let's just give it a couple weeks.
Thank heavens.
And exactly.
Are they still vaccinating for the Delta variant, even though now there's a new variant out?
I don't think they were ever actually vaccinating for a specific variant. They were just saying, just go get the vaccine.
It is for the original. The OG.
Yeah, the OG.
The OG.
We should call this what this is. This is discrimination. This is segregation of populations. Yeah. This is only going to further the political divide, further people moving out of New York City. And the mayor really used very interesting language to kind of describe what he's doing. He said that this is a, quote, preemptive strike, which is very fitting for him to do that, because a preemptive strike is when you attack people and kill them preemptively before doing anything else. That wasn't my words. That was literally Bill de Blasio introducing this policy, saying we need to do this because of Omicron. Omicron's here, we have to do this, even though all the initial reports are saying that people who have Omicron are the people who are vaccinated. So,
well, I don't know about that, but they're saying it's definitely mild. And I think even Fauci brought that up. But also, he's going to be mandating small business owners. All businesses in New York are going to have to do this. And so we got this report out of the Daily Mail. These businesses are saying we are going to lose employees. So a battered economy. People are already struggling, and Bill de Blasio, look, I said it before, I'll say it again, I believe he intentionally is trying to destroy the city. And people say, that's a bold claim, Tim. Why would he do that? Because in the past, Bill de Blasio said, we are going to buy up these buildings for pennies on the dollar and convert them to public housing. Yep. So there you go. There's his motive. There's his intent. When you got a guy who's like, my intention is to buy cheap property that's big and we can turn into public housing, and then all of a sudden he starts implementing policy after policy by decree that destroys property value. I'm like, what is this, RoboCop? RoboCop. What other movies we have the big bad guy being like, I'll destroy property values and buy it up?
Wasn't that the Lego movie also?
Yeah,
wasn't that
sounds right. Classic.
Yeah, Mr. Boss or whatever his name was.
Is that what he was doing?
My question here, and it's at the 30,000 foot level. At what point does an elected Democrat say, I don't have the authority to do that? Right? Like what he's doing in New York. Biden said last week, or maybe over the weekend, I'm going to mandate that the health insurance companies pay for this new test. And the insurance companies must have been like, does he have the authority to do that? Like, it amazes me that elected Democrat leaders, they never look at an issue or a situation and say, oh, that's above my authority level. Everything they want to do, they feel that they have the right to do.
You're making me want to run for office as a Democrat.
Yeah.
Because you know what I would, no, not for like any reason to be like, I'm going to buy up buildings. I just be like, If you work in the automotive industry, then you have to bring me one of those Belgian waffles.
Yes.
Have you ever had those things?
So
the
good.
waffles in Dingus in New York, those carts that are all over the place. They have, do you know what speculoos is?
Oh my god.
No.
Yes,
Cookie butter.
So good.
Cookie
Okay.
butter. It's those Biscoff cookies, and they pulverize it into a paste.
Okay.
Smear it on a sugar waffle with whipped cream, and I'd be like, oh, you got to do it. And then what's going to happen? They're going to be like, I'm not doing that. I'm like, it's a mandate.
It's mandated.
It's a mandate. I mean, clearly what they're doing is unconstitutional. And this is already ruled by the courts numerous times as it pertains to Joe Biden. Now, so Joe Biden's like, I hereby decree federal workers have to do this. And then multiple courts are like, nope.
No.
And the private sector lawsuits are already going through. And the Republicans are saying they're going to vote this down through their special power that the Senate has to challenge an executive order. We know Joe Biden is pushing the boundaries. We know that he's crossed the line. But Bill de Blasio is still doing the same thing. So I'll just put it this way. I think, you know what we need? We need someone to run for office as a Democrat, make all the promises in the world, and then just go nuts and decree the most ludicrous things and just see, like, what sticks.
Yeah.
Like, you got to bring me, you got to tithe to the city hall. Otherwise, we'll send the cops, and the cops will do it.
Oh, yeah.
We'll send the cops, shut down your business.
Yeah.
You as the mayor, he could probably just walk up to a business and be like, give me $50.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay.
They do it. It's called taxes, and it's
No,
more
no.
than just $50.
No, but
It's
I mean,
Yeah.
he could literally just be like, it's for me. I want to go to a strip club. Give me the money. And they do it.
I'd
They
make
have to.
everyone wear hats again.
to.
You know, like when you look
Yes.
at those old photos of New York in the
Yeah.
30s and 40s, and everyone's wearing a
I'm in
hat.
favor.
I would make everyone in New York has to wear a hat outside. Have to wear a
Excellent.
hat.
Perfect.
Yes.
Yep,
Why
you got
not?
it.
I have the
Yeah.
authority to do whatever I want. It is for your own good. And if you can determine any policy because it's for the good of people, whether it's their health, well, I think aesthetic is very, very healthy as well.
that.
Y'all think we're joking at home, but they
Not
actually
at all.
shut down churches and
Yeah.
and mosques and synagogues, and they went to the Jewish neighborhood and shut down schools. They chained parks shut, so that the Jewish community couldn't have access to these things. Yo, if we have a politician who's outright like, what's the amendment where you're allowed to speak and practice your religion? Oh, that's the First Amendment.
Oh.
So, yeah, that one. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's done. Shut down the churches, and then even the courts were like, well, we're going to allow this, and then no one did anything.
That person will become the new CEO of Twitter.
Yeah.
You know, if you have that philosophy, that's how you get a promotion.
If we're at the point where these Democrats have literally just openly and assuredly and confidently violated the Constitution, and the police said, okay, man, I'm sorry if I'm a little pessimistic sometimes, but
Yeah.
right there, no one, where were the people in New York to be like, we're not doing this? I mean, there were a lot of people who did, but certainly not enough.
And it was a year ago, and you can all see the footage online, New Year's Eve, where de Blasio and his wife danced
Yep.
in Times Square, and all of New York was shut down. They weren't allowed to go to the Times Square. There was no ball drop, but he was there with his wife dancing because he was the mayor, and he was allowed, and he wasn't masked. And that was a year ago, and we've been through a year of this BS that we're still playing all of these games of these lockdown. And it was a year ago, the French Laundry. A year ago, Nancy Pelosi got her hair done.
Gretchen Whitmer
We've made
got
no
her,
progress.
Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan got her hair done, and she also shut down famously a barber in a small town that had no COVID.
Yeah.
It's the perfect example. These people are, I mean, look, de Blasio dancing in Times Square after he mandated everyone be kicked out, and no one cares.
No.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of people care, but not enough to be like, hey, this guy's bad.
Not enough.
Obama had a huge birthday party, which was supposed to be limited in number and had hundreds of celebrities coming from all around the world, flying on their private jets to celebrate this, as the corporate media was literally making excuses saying that the sophisticated crowd don't have to follow the specific rules and regulations that everyone else does. That's pretty much what they're trying to establish here, and they've been doing it pretty successfully, because when you look at these kind of decrees, and I call them decrees, these mandates, these supposed laws, they're not laws. They're just literally politicians saying, I'm going to play God for a day. When you look at who these decrees affect, it's small and middle class businesses, because they can't afford to now hire a security guard to check everyone's paper. They can't afford to keep employees on the payroll, especially with a labor shortage that's absolutely eviscerating and destroying their livelihoods and ability to even have a business. Who can be okay with these businesses, with these regulations, with these rules, with these decrees? Amazon, Walmart, CVS, Dwayne Reed. They could afford a loss here. as everyone else gets eviscerated. So this is not only perpetuating the larger transfer of wealth in recorded human history, this is also accelerating the political segregation that's forcing a lot of people in New York City, I used to live in New York City before COVID, to move out and say, you know what, I'm going to vote with my dollar, I'm going to vote with my feet, I'm going to go to New Hampshire, I'm going to go to West Virginia, I'm going to go to Florida, I'm going to go somewhere where I'm respected, where I have freedom, where I have liberty, where I have sovereignty, where I am a human being and I could actually live my life without a jackboot thug officer looking over my shoulder, demanding my paperwork, identification with every little thing I do. What's happening in Europe right now, people are having dinners, police officers coming over them saying, give me your paperwork right now, or we're going to punish you, or we're going to steal more money from you, or we're going to beat the crap out of you, or we're going to put you in jail, is absolutely insane, and it's a violation of human rights.
I would argue it's actually a bit worse in New York City because the people who are enforcing this are the citizens. You know, you looked at Germany. You guys see that video of the Germans doing the military march and they all carrying the torches?
The torches, yeah.
At the same time this story comes out where Germany is marching with torches, there's a story out of Germany where it's like far-right marches with torches and are condemned for using them. It's like, sure, okay, whatever. But in New York, you look at Germany and you look to Austria and you know who the Nazis are. You see the video out of Austria where the cops walk up to a random guy in the mall and they're like, give us your papers, and he pulls out his papers. But in New York, it's the people themselves. And this is one of the this is a very clever thing done by the Democratic establishment and the people in New York, that they're like, we're having this, and our enforcers will be you snitching on your neighbor. So when you walk into the restaurant, it's the people who work there who say, no, you have to do this, otherwise we'll get in trouble. Yeah. So it's not the police. I mean, there are many police, but it's regular people. And so when I was talking about this many times, I'm like, they're the Nazis. The small business owners. These people who are willing to sell out all of their values and fall in line for draconian, unconstitutional edict from an executive, that's the problem. It's the banality of evil. Them just being like, it's mundane, it's normal, I must ask a 5-year-old for his ID, otherwise he can't come in. This hungry man, I'm sorry, you don't get access to public accommodations because of your medical condition or otherwise. Have a nice day. Yeah.
You know what's fascinating is where New York is protecting the integrity of their healthcare system by mandating these requirements and the identification that you are compliant with the requirement. But when it comes to the integrity of their elections, if you proposed an ID system, they would...
Oh, it's laughable.
Absolutely.
A 5-year-old has to have his ID now.
What 5-year-old has an ID? Exactly. What 5-year-old has a driver's license? Yeah. What ID do you have for a 5-year-old?
Exactly.
And quite frankly, if I had a 5-year-old and they were like, we want to take his picture for an ID, I'd be like, listen, creepy Jeffrey Epstein person, I don't know who you are taking a photo of my 5-year-old, but he doesn't need a 5-year-old
look,
an ID.
You get... They'll probably say, no, that's crazy. You don't need an ID for this, just your Vax card. Well, the Vax card is effectively a form of identification.
But they've always said that.
But no. Every place in New York City that does these, and they're becoming more rarer by the day, you need to show your identification with your Vax card so that people could validate that it's your Vax card. How else can you validate that it's someone's Vax card if you don't have a proper form of identification?
And you've mentioned small businesses in New York, and I'm born and raised in New York City, and my whole family is basically still in New York City. And you talk about living there. Like, you go to a deli or a pizzeria, the guy who owns it, makes the pizza, does the cash register. If you have to add on top of his responsibilities, can I see your Vax card before what do you want? A slice and a Coke, $2.25. Let's go. Next. So now on top of this, I have to also check your status. Like, I don't have time to do that. I'm trying to run a business.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Now, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.